Hello, this is how to use the integrated development environment JetBrains CLion for programming for the KDE community. This is my wiki page on the community.kde.org/user:/nmariusp. At the bottom I have more topics and then instructions for how to use the integrated development environment JetBrains CLion. I have installed JetBrains CLion on my Linux computer using Ubuntu 24.10, and I'm using this application from JetBrains named JetBrains Toolbox in order to install the CLion integrated development environment. Let's see how the JetBrains Toolbox application looks like. This is how it looks like. It's a app store for the JetBrains software, which is integrated development environments for various purposes. For the Rust programming language, for automated testers, for documentation writing, for Java and the Kotlin programming language, for the Go programming language, for Python, for the web, for PHP programming language, for SQL, for the C# programming language, etc. So from this App Store, you can install the applications that you want. There are a number of integrated development environments which are gratis to use. That's Android Studio, PyCharm Community, IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition. So Android Studio is for the Android operating system, PyCharm is for Python, and IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition is for Java and the Kotlin programming language. So I have selected CLion, I pressed the install button, and now I can launch the application by clicking on CLion. And I have the options of, for instance, upgrading, so installing newer versions of the software as new versions are made available. So it's also an upgrade manager, an application to update software from JetBrains. There's also additional advanced features such as downgrading to the previous, the penultimate version of the software. Okay. Next up, let's read about the instructions on how to use CLion once it's installed. So we have it installed, and now we want to open a KDE project in CLion. If you are following the procedure how to start programming for KDE, you would be using a Linux operating system, which I have, and you're going to install the KDE build framework named kde-builder. The previous build framework from the KDE community was kdesrc-build. kdesrc-build still works correctly and will continue to work correctly for a while. But you should always use kde-builder because that's the framework that's recommended by the procedure on how to start programming for KDE. So do use what the most of the people in your situation use, because this is the way to get help in case something goes wrong. So do use kde-builder. In this case, I still have kdesrc-build installed, and I'm going to use that. So now it says that we should look at the configuration file. So kdesrc-build and kde-builder have similar command line parameters and are both command line applications. Let's look at the configuration file and make sure that these options are correct. Let's start the console, which is the KDE terminal. And in here, we want to edit the configuration file. So that would be tilde/.config kdesrc-build. And it says that there should be the line cmake minus options, this guy. The cmake build type equals debug. So we want to use an integrated development environment in order to debug, among other things. And in order for the debugger to work correctly, we need the cmake build configuration debug, not the default cmake build configuration, which is rel with debinfo. So I do have this one. And then I should use most of my CPU threads, which I have 16 of, and I have it configured in here. Next up, I should build a KDE project. And I actually build a random KDE project when I contribute to KDE. I don't contribute to the same Git repository many times. For that, I'm going to use the KDE ops website, which is ops.kde.org. I'm going to choose a random application from here. Which one? I don't know which one. KRFB, this one. Okay, I have found an application. Now the question is this application using Qt 6 or Qt 5? For that, I'm going to go to the Git repository, which is invent.kde.org/network/krfb. I'm going to look at the configuration file, cmakelists.txt, and in here should say minimum Qt version is version 6. So it's 6.5.0. I have 6.8 installed, so I'm okay. We should build krfb following this procedure. So kdesrc-build krfb. Okay, so it has to build 32 modules. That's how kdesrc-build names one of these Git repositories. Most of these are dependencies in the sense of libraries. And then the final one, the 32nd, will be the application that we want, which is krfb. And it's doing build, not rebuild, which is why it advanced up until module 31 so fast out of 32. So it only builds the files that have changed. We'll be back in a second once the krfb finishes building. So krfb has finished building. Let's see if it was actually built and installed correctly by trying to run it. This is a graphical user interface application, which is about enable desktop sharing. So this is probably a remote desktop protocol, a VNC server, graphical user interface frontend. I don't know what exactly it does because I have never used it. Immediately something doesn't look right to me. It doesn't show the icon of the application on the penultimate item in the main menu help, which is about the name of the application, which the application calls itself desktop sharing, not KRFB. So the icon of the application should appear there in the menu and in here. Let's look at an example. Like this. So the icon should be at the left of the element about the name of the application. And then at the left of this desktop sharing and version should be the icon of the application, which you can see in the title bar and in here. So this is a thing which we could fix. Let's write this thing down. So KRFB about does not have. Okay, what else? This is the new styling and theme with horizontal rows, these lines. libVNC server, tight VNC. Okay, so the application seems to run. It has a status bar. It has a settings window. It does support pipewire. Okay, the application seems, at least the graphical user interface part, to not be this complicated. And since the application did not close after I closed it, maybe it sits in the system tray. So let's remove it from there. This thing, desktop sharing, right click and quit. Some applications, when you close them, instead of actually closing the process and stopping the process, they minimize to the system tray. So we've proved that we can build correctly using Qt 6 the application KRFB using the kde-build framework kdesrc-build, and that we can also run it using the kdesrc-build framework. Now we need to do similar things, but from inside the CLion application. So again, you can start CLion by clicking in here. Or by, let's actually close this thing. Or by starting it from the start menu. It automatically opens the previous project that has been opened. So you go File and then Close Project. And now we get to load the KRFB Git repository and the CMake build directory, etc. inside of the IDE. So let's see how we do that. Says that we should build again the application, but this time with these command line parameters. Let's do that. and that we should stop once it says found or looking. So we want to stop during the CMake configure step, but after it writes these prefix, these starting lines from the CMake configure step. So we want to copy the lines starting from here until here. Okay, so it says look at the output of this command line, and from there we should copy this block which says running CMake targeting, this part, and ending in the pound sign space from directory, this part. Okay, so we have that. Let's see what it says next. Welcome to CLion Wizard. This is it, a window. Says open button. And then in here we want to paste the full path to the directory where krfb has been git cloned and the cmake list.txt file. So it's actually this thing. So tilde kdesrc-build cmake list.txt. I'm pressing the OK button. And now it asks if I want to just edit the plain text file cmake list.txt. No, I want to actually open the entire cmake project. So I go open as project. Then I get this second wizard, which is the open project wizard. Okay. Or if you don't get the open project wizard, there's a similar window which you can open from the CLion IDE. If you go to File Settings, Build Execution, Deployment, CMake, this thing. Okay, so we've kept all of the defaults, and now I need the build directory for this edit box, this one, build directory. This would be the CD part, which is this one. So I've copied some output from a long command line into this Kate, which is a text editor window. And now from the text that I've copied in Kate, I'm going to copy parts and put them inside the Open Project Wizard window in CLion. Actually, I need to edit 3 edit boxes. The first one is build directory. The second one is CMake options. So in there it says that I should copy from here all of the parts except CMake minus B and then dot. So I should ignore the parameters minus B and minus S. So this is the parameter minus B. This is the parameter minus S. I actually need to copy the entire command line starting with minus G, minus uppercase G. So this part. And put it into this edit box, CMake options. Next up, I need to edit this edit box, environment variables. For that, I need to convert the part with setting, so the lines 5 through 11. And I'm going to replace a ton of spaces and then setting environment variable and then a space with nothing. Replace all. And then I want to replace space to space with an equal sign. Replace all. And then it says that I should save the contents of this file to this location, tilde/kd/clion-cmake.txt. Copy, save as, Ctrl V, overwrite. Why? Because this is the time where we have opened the KRFB project inside CLion, but then I'm going to probably do two Git commits and 2 merge requests for the KRFB project, and then I'm going to pick another random KDE project. And I can reuse this file for when opening other KDE projects. If I'm following the exact same procedure for other KDE projects, the content of the file clion-cmake.txt will actually be identical. Okay, now it says that I should copy the content of the file clion-cmake.txt to the clipboard. That's Ctrl-A, Ctrl-C. And inside the environment edit box, there's at the right side of the edit box a button with tooltip, edit environment variables with the keyboard shortcut Shift plus Enter. So I'm going to click on this button. And then there's a button with a tooltip paste. I'm going to press it and then press the OK button. And then that's it. I have edited the edit box's build directory, CMake options, and environment. I can click on the OK button. And this should be it. Now we're able to build correctly the KRFB KDE Git repository. In here it says that for extreme cleanliness, we can delete the build directory which has already been created by kdesrc-build. But you cannot do this, it's not mandatory. Next step, in the bottom left, there's a button with tooltip CMake and the CMake icon. In here, we need to find a button with the tooltip clear all, this trash button. And there's a button reload CMake project, this one. And we need to look and see if the output of the CMake configure is correct. Let's see what it says. So it says that it has found Wayland, Pipewire, OpenGL, Vulkan, Antonov, Qt 6 modules at the correct version, which is 6.8. And it has also found KDE libraries, starting with ECM, many KDE frameworks version 6, GNU getText, X libraries, X11 libraries, and the remote desktop libraries, libvnc server. The output looks correct. I don't see any errors, any dependencies which were not found. So everything looks okay. Next up, from the CLion main menu. So I have configured CLion such that it shows the main menu of the application all of the time, which I did where? In here. So the main menu of CLion, then view, then appearance, then show main menu in separate toolbar. Other changes that I did to CLion inside of the main menu, file, settings, I have searched for keyboard. I have found key maps and I have switched to the key map Visual Studio. I'm a Visual Studio developer. I have never used integrated development environments and other tools from JetBrains, so I don't know the JetBrains shortcuts by heart. Other changes that I did, I want to not see a left-right scroll bar. So that's wrap this thing. I enabled the checkbox soft wrap these lines, and then for file formats, I choose the asterisk, which means any file type. And then also for tool windows and windows which look like terminals, error windows, etc., I have turned on soft wrap, which is this button, Control E, and then W. So I want this thing to be toggled, turned on. Okay. So it says from the CLion main menu, build, rebuild, build. There's many ways to build, but I actually want to use what the tutorial says, which is rebuild and then the name of the project, KRFB. So it says 34 translation units and linker invocations. It has created an executable bin/krfb, which is the graphical user interface application. Next up, we want to be able to start the application, the graphical user interface application KRFB, from the integrated development environment. For that, we'll have a prefix.sh file in the build directory. Let's actually look at that. So tilde/kd/src/krfb is the git clone directory. Let's look at that. Git remote -v git GUI. No need to fetch from origin because this operation has already been done by kdesrc-build. No need to switch to the remote master branch because this operation was already done by kdesrc-build. And then this directory is being kept clean, and all of the build and build time generation and CMake and Ninja output is put not in tilde/kd/src/krfb, but in tilde/kd/build/krfb. Let's go there. In here. Okay, and in here it says that there exists a file prefix.sh which has this content. And we should look at the content of the file. It should say path xdg data dirs, xdg config dirs, qt plugin path, qml to import path, qt quick control style, man page and sasl path, which it does. And then I should run this command line. Let's run it in a terminal, a clean one, Ctrl-Shift-T, Ctrl-Shift-V. And now some environment variables have been set inside this process, which is bash. And we want to actually see the values of those, the new values of those environment variables. So the environment variable path had a value, but then it was, to its value, it was prepended this part. And I want to see the new value of the path environment variable. And I do that by echoing $path. Okay, so this is the output starting from here after the echo lines start. And I want to put these things in a text editor. So go new inside of Kate, copy starting from path and ending at the end of the output of the echo commands. Right click copy, Control V, make sure we have a trailing new line. And then it says that I should save this thing as the file tilde/kd/cline-run.txt. Save as, Control V, save. Why? For the same thing, we're saving it as a file because it might be needed when I open another KD Git repository in CLion. Okay, back to CLion. Says from the CLion main menu, run edit, run, edit configurations. And we need to make sure that the target KRFB is selected, which it is. Why? Because the rest of the targets are for creating translated manuals, or what are these translations? And maybe tests, executables. So make sure the CMake application target that we're after is the main graphical user interface application, which is KRFB in this case, which is exactly the same name as the name of the Git repository. In here, we need to edit just one edit box, which is this one, environment variables. So it says that I should copy to the clipboard the contents of the file cline-run.txt, Control-A, Control-C. And then in the environment variables edit box, there's a button at the right side of the edit box with tooltip edit environment variables, Shift plus Enter. So let's see if that's the case. Yes, it is. And then I'm clicking on the button with tooltip paste. And then press OK button twice. That's it. Now we should be able to start the application KRFB from the environment variable. So let's do that. Run from the main menu, and then run and the name of the application KRFB. So this is running the application without using the debugger. And it works. It has started correctly. It has found the correct libraries and other configuration files, etc. So the environment variables have been set correctly. Next up, we want to make sure that debugging works correctly. For that, we need to find the main function. You can drill. So go to the project, Ctrl-Alt-L tool window, and then expand KRFB node. Don't go to kd/build, but to kdesrc. And then find in here the main. Where is it? So should be a CPP file inside the KRFB subdirectory in this case. Main.cpp is usually the name, or krfb.cpp. And in here, we need to navigate through the functions, the free functions inside of this file. we have the button structure, and we can click on the main function, put a breakpoint, for instance, on the first line. So in this case, it's line 78, Q application app. And now we can start the debugger, which says from the CLion main menu, run and then debug krfb. Says that the process is already running. Let's stop it. Yeah, it's running and it has minimized itself back in here into the tray. So let's change that if possible. I want the application to not close to the system tray. How do we do that? I don't see a setting for this. But if I choose the menu option up file quit, it will actually close the application, not minimize it to the tray. So only if I close the application like this by closing the window, then it's going to minimize to the tray. But if I go from the main menu, file, and then quit or Control Q, it's going to actually stop the process and not minimize to the system tray. Okay, so back to where we were. Run debug krfb. And it has stopped on the correct line. It has opened the debug tool windows. We have the GDB console, so for entering GNU debugger commands. We have the list of threads and variables. So we have available the two local variables, argc and argv. Argc is 1, which is the count of parameters, which means that argv, the list of command line parameters, contains only one item, which is the full path to the executable in this case. Okay, and the threads and the call stack is on the left. And now it says, in order to make sure that the application has started, no need to perform this thing, but we could pause the debugger. We did that. In the bottom left button, debug Alt 5, this thing opens the tool window for debugging. Tab GDB. I can run the GDB command info proc. Let's see if copy paste works. It does. So says that the process ID is this one, 353841. And then in a terminal, CLion actually does have a terminal, which is this one. There's two types of terminal, the default one and the new terminal, which is in beta, which I have enabled. And in here, I should run this command. How do I paste? Let's edit it in a text editor, Control V. And I need to change the process ID. Like this, with the one starting with 353. Back to the terminal, Control V. Okay. And it's showing environment variables of the running process. And what we want to do is to go to the cline-run.txt file and make sure that the environment variables are configured the way we wanted them. For instance, the path environment variable. I see that the environment variables are not sorted alphabetically, which is not that great. Where is the path environment variable? This one starts with tilde/kd/usr/bin, and then .cargo bin, and then tilde/.local/bin, etc. So yes, the environment variables have been set the way I wanted them for the process that we're debugging, which is krfb. And then that's it. Okay, let's see what we can do in order to fix some issues in the application krfb. Let's see the debugger first. Let's look at the debugger shortcuts, which are available in here. So step over F10, step into F11, step out Shift F11, so similar to Visual Studio, and also similar to Visual Studio Code. Okay, can I step into Qt source code? No, because I don't have CPP files for the Qt framework. Let's actually exit, Shift F11 once more. And we're back into the main. Let's see if we can step into KD source code, and I should, because I have access to CPP files for all the KD source code, because I have built from source all of the KD source code using kdesrc-build, and the CMake build configuration was set to debug, so I should be able to see all of the KD source code inside of the debugger. F11, and it entered qbyte array. Shift F11, F11. So again, I don't have any of the CPP files for the Qt framework. I have just the .h files for the Qt framework, which means I will be able to step into the header files, the .h files from the Qt framework, which has a bit of use because there's a ton of C++ template code, so metaprogramming in the Qt framework, and that's actually written in .h files, not in .cpp files. But in general, I do not want to step into Qt source code, but I do want to be able to step into KD source code because I want to learn this KD source code. So let's see what klocalized string set application domain actually does. How do I have the definition of this symbol? Go to declaration or usages. What's that? No. What about if I show the structure? Nope, I can't. Maybe it refuses to show some things because I did not load into the integrated development environment CLion also this KD Git repository, which is K internationalization and KD framework. Maybe if I have both of them, both KRFB and this one loaded, I will be able to use additional functions from the integrated development environment, such as switching between CPP and .h file, navigating to the to symbols, etc. And also maybe show usages. So the functionalities that are not available, that are available while the debugger does not run, those functionalities. Okay, but not a problem. Let's see what's next. So this, I'm going to guess it's a static method. It does say this thing, yes. So it does know where it's defined and its signature, but I'm not sure why it doesn't navigate there. So yes, it's a static method on the klocalized string class, probably. klocalized string.cpp. How do we find out if this is a class? Okay, so it started working the navigation and structure. It navigated into tilde/kd/usr/include, which is part of the project that we have loaded. So this class has actually 3 files. The one in tilde/kd/usr/include, a .h file, a .h file inside tilde/kd/src/kinternationalization, and then a CPP file inside of tilde/kd/src/krfb. So 3 files. One we can navigate to, which is the one in tilde/kd/usr, because that's actually part of the project that we have loaded, which is krfb. Okay. And if I control click on the set application domain, it refuses to navigate, but if I control click on the name of the class, it navigates correctly. So the signature for set application domain should be in the same file, Control F, and it's in here. We can see it's a static method. Middle click to close the tab. Okay, so it uses a static implementation. It stepped into .h files from the Qt framework. So some of the source code is written in .h files for the Qt framework, such as this method is destroyed because it's a C++ template. Okay, qmutex locker for synchronization. And then on this static variable s, it sets the application domain, which is a qbyte array, which is a form of Qt string. This value, which is domain, which can we inspect or not? Inside of the tooltip does not say anything, just documentation, doesn't say the actual value of the locally available function parameter. But we can see it in here in the debug tool window. We can expand, then expand some more, and it says that maybe CLion doesn't know how to display during the debugger the Qt string types, but fortunately it knows how to show the dptr, and inside, fortunately, there's this ASCII or UTF-8 content, which is krfb, which we can see, ptr. So it's either 7-bit content, which would be ASCII, or it's a UTF-8 content, which can be stored on 8 bits, or it might be something more complicated than that, such as 8859-2 or something like that. Okay, we can see it's krfb, probably null terminated. So qbyte array, and then there's a d data pointer. which is actually a q-byte array data, which is a pointer that has a member ptr, which is where. I don't know how to find it. I don't know, let's search for this thing. Control F, ptr, all words, and match case, and F3. It's in there somewhere. This thing. So the penultimate line in the class says that there's ptr, which is a field member, which is actually public and is of type, the type of the template, so class T. Okay, so fortunately, inside the debugger, we have sometimes we can easily see what is the value of a variable that's of type of one of the cute string types, such as this one, q-byte array. Okay, back to where we were. Where were we? F10. Okay, so we were inside the KD source code klocalized string set application domain. These are the KD internationalization functions, the functions which translate this string to maybe another language. So from English US to, I know, Spanish, Castellano. Okay, so we proved that the debugger works correctly. That we can step into KD source code and into CPP files of the KD from the KD and we can step into .h files from the Qt framework. That's more than enough. Okay, let's let it run without pausing inside of the debugger. This button resume program. And we have the application running. It's inside of the debugger. We can pause at any time. We can look at the threads. Thread 1 is the important thread, the one that probably does all of the painting. I'm not sure how Qt 6.8 does painting for Qt widgets applications, but I'm guessing from the main thread. And then there's all of the possible additional threads. The ones for LLVM are probably for the GPU drivers. The QDBus connection is maybe a dbus listener. So maybe this application listens for dbus events from dbus clients. XCB, it means that we're on the X11 windowing framework, not on Wayland or on X-Wayland. I don't know where all of these are it would be nice if I could navigate through all of the threads just by pressing a single key, not two. Most of the threads should be in a waiting state, so they don't take CPU time. Somebody is going to wake the thread, a kernel event probably, or a clock, a timer. We can see the output of the application, and again the GDB. Okay, let's see this button, change unattended password. Can we get to this event, change unattended password? How can we do that? So there's an unattended password button, which has this text which is translated. Retranslate the UI. Open in Find window. CLion has this feature where it shows the relevant parent lines of the current line. So I'm at line 362, which is a line inside of a method. And at the top of the text editor window, it shows that we're inside this method, retranslate UI, which is public, which is part of the class UI underscore main widget.h. This UI underscore main widget.h is probably related to the MOC, to the build directory, MOC being a, not MOC, but UIC, one of the three executables which generate code at build time from the Qt framework. MOC, the meta object compiler, UIC, the UI compiler, and RCC, the resource compiler. Let's look at that file. krfp, so tilde/kd/build/krfp, krfb, and then UI main widget, this thing, which says that it was created by the Qt user interface compiler, so UIC version 6.8, and there's a file, a source code file, which is actually in Git under version control main widget.ui. You should not edit the files inside of the build directory because these get regenerated each time you rebuild, or you delete the build directory and rebuild. You should actually edit the main widget.ui file. Let's see where that is. Probably in krfp main widget, main widget.ui. We find UI, this thing, main widget.ui. Okay, we can open this thing using Qt Designer or Qt Creator. Let's see what happens by if I double click on this thing. So it opened Qt Designer version 5. So not a good idea. Let's actually open the Qt Creator. Can we open this project? Yes, let's open the project. So open project. How do we open the project? I don't know. So from my wiki page, Qt Creator, I have installed Qt Creator. I'm opening a KD Git repository, but I'm not going to build. Hopefully it doesn't mess up this configuration inside the CLion. So I should open the same thing, which is the cmakelist.txt file. So krfp cmakelist.txt, Ctrl-Alt-C, open project, Ctrl-V. And maybe if I don't build, just go to Edit, expand krfp. Nope, it doesn't work like that. Okay, then I want manage kits. So projects, this thing, manage kits, delete all of the temporary ones. Okay, what else? Import existing build, which is this directory. So I'm at the step where I can build KRFB correctly using the integrated development environment, not CLion, but Qt Creator. And CMake configure has run automatically, which we can see in the sidebar somewhere. It's in there. And now we should be able to use the edit tool window, switch to edit mode, Ctrl-2, and find out the UI file, krfb, UI, and main widget, this guy. Okay, so we needed to start a second integrated development environment just to find out the method that implements the event that we care about, which is this one. Where are you? Unattended password button. This thing, change unattended password. And we need to look at the events. And I don't know how to read these things. Change unattended password, this guy. This guy. We have the properties. And somewhere should be the signals and slots. Let me dig. This button is actually disabled. Or not, maybe I'm just pausing the debugger. Okay, it's not. Okay, so if I click on it, it's going to show this graphical user interface window, desktop sharing, enter a new password. The connection for this checkbox enable unattended access is probably this one. Or not, this one, enable desktop sharing. So I actually needed to use a third integrated development environment, which is Visual Studio Code, to actually find what's happening here. So Ctrl-Shift-F. I searched for unattended password button. It found the translation PO files. I say let's exclude the directory PO/, so PO/AF, PO/AR, PO/BE, etc. And now we're down to just two places, which is the one that connects the unattended password button, Q push button clicked. We saw that that's the event. Too slow, so this thing. The clicked event, the one that we want, actually doesn't come from QObject or from QWidget, but comes from QAbstract button and not from QPush button. So these are some of the classes, the C++ classes, which are on the inheritance hierarchy for the type, which is QPush button. Okay, so QPush button clicked. And the event that's going to be called, or the function that's going to be called when this event happens, is this one, edit unattended password. Which is defined in main window, which is of type XML GUI. So this is a KDE framework version 6, which is usually used for creating the main window of a graphical user interface application, because it uses a standard for the KDE type of menu items and main toolbar, which does what we expected, which is to create a graphical user interface window and display it. Okay, let's close some of the integrated development environments. Let's close Qt Creator. First of all, let's make sure nothing got changed in the source code. Okay. Ctrl-Shift-F and V. This thing. Where are you? This is the connection. Okay, and this is the CPP file where the body of the method is defined. The main window, edit unattended password. Let's put a breakpoint here. The application is still running inside of the debugger. In the debug tool window, we can see that it offers the option of pausing, which means that the application is running, not paused in the debugger, which is what we want, the application running, not paused, and a breakpoint. And now if we click on the button change unattended password, it will stop at the correct line, which is line 184. Okay, in here it creates a Qt window. Let's see what this thing actually it is. It's a Q dialog, where from there's a KDE framework for such a thing, which is called K-widgets add-ons. The new password dialog. Wow, that's deep. Totally unexpected. Okay, so this dialog is that we're going to see is actually not part of KRFP, but it's a shared functionality for the KD. Okay, F11, let's see the constructor. This is in C++. I would have expected a .ui file, dptr, shift F11, F11. So we stepped into a operator or something. But now we're where we want, which is the dptr init method. So this is actually a .ui file. But it's inside the build directory for kwidgets add-ons. Yeah, that's what I would expect. So UIC has been run over the file with extension .ui. This one, knew password dialog.ui, which exists in tilde/kd/src/kwidgets add-ons. And then the generated file by UIC is in tilde/kd/build/kwidgets add-ons. Correct. Setup UI. Okay, let's get out and out and out. Enter a new password. Okay, then it changes a bit the shared window. It runs it in the main loop. Okay. So we know how to run an application, how to build an application in CLion, how to run it, how to debug it, how to step into the implementation of graphical user interface buttons and checkboxes, etc. In CLion, there's also this button, which is problems, where we can do a whole project analysis of the KD Git repository that we have opened in CLion, which in this case is KRFB. Let's see what types of issues it finds. So says that it has found 6,000 issues. Most of the issues are actually the fact that the spell checking dictionaries inside of CLion don't recognize names of persons and names of KD projects. Such an example are like this. So it says that it doesn't understand the family name Geyser, which is not the best thing to do. Maybe CLion should have a bit of smartness added to it, such that it recognizes where a human name is, and it should just ignore that. I'm not exactly sure how that would be. Okay, so most of the warnings of typos are actually not a problem if not defined. So let's just ignore the typo category at entirely. And let's switch to grammar. Let's see what it says. Create a screencast session. Correct. Screencast should be just one word. How do we fix this thing? Screencast. Okay, that's debatable. And it's inside of where? Inside of the dbus protocol or KRFB. Yeah, I would research if indeed there are more appearances of screencast with a space or not on Google, and if so, I'm going to replace these things as screencast and do a git commit, because it doesn't actually it affects just one Git repository KRFB. It's not like I'm editing a Wayland protocol, and it's just doc strings for the protocol. Yeah, good idea. Let's just do that. This thing x minus x is, I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. Touchdown event. Touchdown, this is not a American football thing. This is an actual mouse event or something. Touch screen event. I'm not going to edit the text of licenses. Okay, that's that. For the proofreading in general, let's see the other types of things. URL is not registered. You should probably do what it says in here to add this DTD, XML DTD, to this setting inside of CLion. And then maybe it's going to identify issues in the rest of the XML file. Well, let's actually do this thing right now. Settings, language, and frameworks schemas. Let's search for DTD. External, these ones. And we should probably run the inspection again. Again, ignore typo, ignore proofreading. What does this thing do? This is a Flatpak manifest, and it says that if this file actually exists, which I'm not sure it does, let's prove. It does. Maybe it also is served from the HTTPS protocol. Yeah, it's served both from HTTP and HTTPS protocol, so you might want to replace the HTTP protocol with HTTPS in two places. This thing I'm not sure about because it's talking about cryptography, and maybe apt doesn't know HTTPS at the moment that the cryptography is being set up with key ID and key server and everything. So I would leave this thing as it is. Namespace declaration is never used. So it says that there's no doc colon inside of this XML. Defines an XML namespace, but it doesn't use it. Doc being probably the doc strings, this part. Okay, what else? I'm not sure what this thing is. So this is a file with extension cmake inside of ~kd/src/krfp. And it says that there's no cmake syntax for commenting out files, commenting out lines with slash asterisk. Yeah, where these are probably snippets which are going to be used by a larger cmake file. Maybe the extension is wrong. This is totally a part of a .desktop file. That's why it's actually complaining. So maybe the extension is wrong. Should not be cmake, should be cmake 4 or something. Or cmake or something. And for the C++ issues, usually just 10% of the issues found by CLion are actually issues. Let's see what's the thing that it found. So it says that we're using C style cast instead of C++ cast, where the file has extension .cpp, so cannot really be used from C code, and hopefully is not used from C code, from a C translation unit, just from C++. So maybe it would be a good idea to do what it says in here. I do not know how to cast in C++. I'm a C++ developer, but I do not know how to cast using C++. So I do not know the various types of static cast, dynamic cast, unique cast, whatever, those things. I do not know what should be used in here. But maybe it makes sense to keep the content of this file to be C++, not C. Okay, the same thing in many places. Yeah, I can see that the C programming language syntax is easier to read than the C++ programming language syntax. Okay, and it goes like this for a while. Class can be made final. Because why? Do we have a documentation? Why would we want to do that? Polymorphic classes without inheritors final. I wouldn't bother with this. Declaration and assignment could be joined. Yes, so this is a C programming languageism. So a C-ism, not a C++ism. Why would you have a block of variable declarations and then start using those declarations? Makes no sense. Makes sense only in the programming languages which force you to do this, like the C programming language, or maybe you came from a programming language that has a var block or something, such as Pascal or Delphi. But otherwise, in C++, C#, etc., Java, you should never just declare a variable and then start using it. For this thing, you should actually do a git commit for this thing. Not sure what happens here. Why is this strange indentation? Let's look at the differences. So we can run git qui straight from here. We have the terminal. Where are you? This guy. And it's 8 spaces the indentation, which is extremely strange. Whereas the previous function is just 4 spaces. So I would do a git commit where I just fix this method. I make it use 4 spaces indentation, not 8. So just by opening a random KD Git repository in an integrated development environment, trying to do the minimum things that you do in an integrated development environment, such as building, running, debugging, stepping into trying to fix issues found by the compiler warnings, trying to fix additional issues found by the integrated development environment, you just stumble across things which are plain wrong, such as in this case, the 8-space indentation instead of the 4-space indentation. And you can just easily do a kd git commit and a merge request where you fix the indentation of just one file. All of the wrong indentations of 8 spaces, you make them 4 spaces, do a git commit with just that. Let's do revert in here. And so I totally don't see why 8 spaces are required in here. Let's see if CLion knows how to unindent. Ctrl S. And then there's this line breaks in here, which are at some random position. No, 8 spaces when line breaks occur, from what I see. Okay, I could survive with that. I would actually put this thing on the previous line and this thing on the previous line also. Have longer lines because my text editor doesn't show a left-right scroll bar. It uses line wrap. Okay, how can we find other instances of 8 spaces? We can't. I know how to do that in Visual Studio Code, right? Ctrl-Shift-F. Where is my keyboard? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then some character, regular expression. Files to include asterisk.cpp and a ton of F4s. Unfortunately, F4 doesn't do what I want. When it advances to the next stop, it to the next line, it doesn't stop for a millisecond to refresh the text editor. So if I just keep F4 pressed, I see how it advances in the left tool window, but it doesn't advance in the text editor. So I cannot actually keep the F4 key pressed, which defeats the purpose of F4. Yeah, I don't know how to find these things. Yeah, with like this, and then a new line. Yeah, but I want the round parentheses. Yeah, I don't know how to find the rest of places where instead of 4 space indentation, accidentally there's an 8 space indentation. Okay, let's see what we can do. The rest of the indentation was kept correct, not changed. There's no tabs in here. Yeah, it looks okay to me. And I'm actually going to do this git commit. Use for space indentation. Okay, this thing I'm not actually going to do now, maybe later. Make sure one more time that we're on the master branch. So we should be one commit from the remote origin master git branch. We'll create a new branch. It's space checkout, rescan, remote, push. We should also build. The correct command line is this one, kdesrc-build krfb, no src, no include dependencies, refresh build debug. Refresh build debug. Yes, this one. So it does a full rebuild, all 103 C++ translation units and other preprocessing and linking. Should not find any issue, and I know maybe we could also start the application. Meanwhile, let's see how we can create the merge request. KD invent ARFB. This thing. Create a merge request. Correct title. Changes. Just shuffle space. And I can see that it has just removed 4 spaces. The difference viewer in GitLab is better than what I have in here in Git GUI. Here it just says the line was removed and a line was added. It doesn't say that these 4 spaces were removed. Whereas in GitLab, I can see this thing in here. Okay, so it looks okay. I don't see why there would be any issue. And now we're going to just run it, and it runs. It's okay. Again, we should look into fixing this icon issue. That would be probably my second merge request. Okay, create merge request, and that's that. This is how you easily, by just exercising a integrated development environment, in this case JetBrains CLion on top of a KDE Git repository, you can do very simple, very short Git commits and GitLab merge requests. Thank you.